Hi. So it's Friday night. Clearly, our lives aren't that terribly exciting. These glasses look very large. Oh, look, do you see my nativity? So last night I did a live video on this fellow I was calling the Baconator, Jim Bacon out of Richmond. And then I deleted the video because after I talked to him this morning, he said he would do a live video interview with me tomorrow. And I was like, well, I better delete that video because, Lord, if he watches that, he might not do it. Well, now he ain't even doing the video. So we got to redo the video from last night because it was doing great. Hello, Rebecca. Mary Keetlin, I see you. Hi, Catherine. So, hey, Kim. We went to dinner tonight to Waterman's in our town of Edenton. And my parents hauled ass from the Christmas tree lighting so we could have the good table in the front window. Hey, Krista. Krista, I enjoyed your live video today. I was trying to figure out how to join it, but I couldn't. There was no button to add. Hi, Stephanie. So anyway, hey, Becky. I was working on this Richmond thing. So are y'all familiar with it? I had a feeling it wasn't going to happen. Oh, he bailed. No, so this afternoon I talked to the, not the like total head of the paper, but the head of the editorial parts. And he called me at 4:30 and was like, we've decided, we talked for a long time, that there's nothing beneficial that will happen from him talking to you. It's probably true. I have a feeling that somebody's wife was like, oh my God, I read his blog. He's going to eat. She'll eat him for breakfast. I couldn't see your comments. You have to be on a phone to invite people. Oh, that's what it is, Krista. I read that. I didn't know that. So anyway, that's annoying. So they don't want him to represent the paper. And I said, well, we don't even have to talk about the paper. We can just talk about him. Well, he works here. I said, well, I'm kind of concerned that you hired him, truthfully. So for those of y'all that don't know, hello, Linda and Sarah. Jim Bacon wrote this article on autism and education on Wednesday. He just started working at the Richmond Times on Monday. And he has a blog called the Bacon something. And you might be tired of it, but we're going to go over his article. So this morning I did publish kind of his top 10 quotes. This is a real person in a real article. This is for all the dorks out there on a Friday night. Hi, Laura. Hi, Denise. Okay. Now, so these are his statements. Number 1, autism is a growing phenomenon in Virginia, as it is in the rest of the United States. It's true. Hi, Mariana. Number 2, the syndrome. Okay, autism is not a syndrome. So today, when I talked to James Bacon, I pointed that out. And he was like, well, I mean, you could call it something different. No. Syndrome is actually a real word. Just joining you. Have you heard from Bacon? Oh, Nicole, I talked to Bacon this morning. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Just going to go over the article for the people that missed the original part. Then we're going to talk about my conversation with the Baconator, which somebody just sent me a message and they're not following me anymore because I called him the Baconator. It's a sandwich from Wendy's. It's not that offensive. Anyway, the syndrome, autism, affects not only families, but it is creating budgetary stress for Virginia schools. Number 3, the challenge of paying for special treatment is everybody's problem. What that means is the challenge of paying for Amos is everybody's problem. The special needs of students with autism are driving increased state spending under the Individuals with Disabilities Act. I did ask him, I said, I'd like to know more about the Individual with Disability Act. I've never heard of that. I think what you meant was the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which is a federal law. And he was like, you're right. I didn't do research. I just quoted it from an article. And I was like, you've been like in the newspaper business for 30 years and I've been doing it for 3 years. I said, I am a hell of a lot better at it than you are. Oh my God, you suck at this. I mean, I really did say that. I'm not like trying to be cool, but I was not. Anyway, over and above the fiscal burden, there is a cost for which there are no metrics. The cost to other students whose classroom instruction is interrupted by students with autism. So I'm going to read it like this to you. The cost to other students whose classroom instruction is interrupted by Amos. Because that's really what it means, right? I will say Amos does disrupt things at home. He is really good at school. He loves school, and he loves his friends. I mean, this is somebody like today that's writing these things. Time spent counseling autistic children. And we talked a lot about how you use people first language, children with autism, not autistic children or Downs kids. I mean, it's like, he's like been in a rock. And other students with behavioral problems is time spent not teaching. While many autistic students are mainstreamed successfully, not all of them are. Is there ever anything that's 100%? Anyway, it is right and proper that schools endeavor to mainstream kids with autism, but compassion for autistic kids should be balanced by compassion for their classmates and their desire to learn free from interruption. So compassion for Amos should be balanced by compassion for his classmates and their desire to learn free from Amos's interruption. You suck at this, it's funny. Oh, I mean, I said more than that. Number 9. There are complex trade-offs between what's best for children with autism, what's best for their classmates, and what's best for the taxpayers. Oh yeah, his blog is Bacon's Rebellion. Oh, thank you, Mariana Bigham. A picture of Amos at school. So yesterday when I was telling about this, I got a little weepy. I'm not weepy today. I'm just pissed. So as he and I were talking, let me get my notes because they're back here somewhere. I'm still on my husband's phone so I can read off of it. All these damn nutcrackers are taking me over. I had to put my printer away. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So good. Let's see. I think the first thing I asked him was about the syndrome person. Oh, he said, I'm not an expert on that matter. So here's what he said then. My main point is that autism is growing in frequency. This is true. But that was not his main point of the article. I just read it to y'all. Was that his main point? If it was, I have lost my mind. And then he said, we have to strike a balance. Oh, and then he got kind of huffy. He said, well, there's nobody's interested in having an open conversation. I mean, you've called me, but no one's interested. And I was like, where are you going? Am I going somewhere? Oh, I just have a blanket wrapped around me. I got cold. I didn't have on a bra, let's just be honest. He said, he kept saying, I'm happy to have a conversation. I'm happy to have a conversation. I said, good, then let's do a live video tomorrow. So he agreed, and now he can't. When I said, when you say we need to have a conversation about not having children in a classroom, what you're saying is you don't agree with the law that says they should be in there. And he said, this is a direct quote. I love a quote. I wasn't aware of the law. So you're going to write an article and you're going to tell thousands of parents of special needs children that their children are disruptive and a financial burden on the school system. And you're going to quote a law incorrectly, and then you're going to tell me that you didn't know there was a law? So when I talked to the head of the paper, I guess they didn't want this guy's name to come out. But I said, you can't write something like this and not put your name to it. Like, you need to stand by what you say. And I've only been doing this a couple years, but don't write about something unless you become an expert on it, right when I wrote about Medicaid. I studied it for like a week. So I think the difference is, so the editor called me this afternoon and said, well, we're not going to do the interview with you, but we're going to issue an apology tomorrow. And I said, well, I think that's, fantastic to issue an apology. But I said, I have these 4 kids and I make them apologize. I said, I don't think Bacon truly thinks that he's wrong. And I said, and I'll tell you why. He's written a dozen articles over the last few years about how crappy special needs kids are and how they suck up resources in the school system. I said, at some point, it's like talking to Hitler. I don't know how we're gonna. I said, you hired this person who really is terrible acting. I'm not saying he's not nice, but like, he is bad. I said, so I don't, anyway, this is bizarre. Anyway, so I looked at some of his articles. And of course, nobody in the paper had read the articles. So I want you to listen to this one. It's a pretty good one. So he had this article, and the name of it, the title is, Does Anyone Really Think That More, quote, inclusion will help special needs students? This is an article that Bacon wrote. And this is why I don't think Bacon is suited for this job at the paper. I think when you hire somebody that writes something like this and their whole job is to write opinions, you've picked the wrong person. And I mean, I'm not exactly Miss Easy to get along with. Okay, does anyone really think that inclusion will help special needs students? And I'm not paraphrasing. This is just the entire paragraph. Workshops, so he's talking about they're going to have a workshop in Richmond. Workshops will examine, quote, cultural differences and disabilities in children in order to provide collaborative instructional strategies and curriculums designed to meet the needs of all children. Speaker Maria Shefkin will expound upon the idea of applying the practice of inclusion to all classrooms in order to eradicate its general association. Blah, blah, woof, woof, eyes glaze over. I've never heard anybody use that expression when they're talking about children like Amos. Blah, blah, woof, woof, eyes glaze over. And he goes on to say this. Is it just me, or does this sound like a touchy-feely fest? Does anyone really think that more inclusion will help special needs students? Am I overlooking something when I observe that special needs students have special needs? Something when I observe that they need specialized exercises and programs tailored to their level of cognitive development? In some instances, I would guess children could be mainstream with their peers and given special instruction for an hour or 2 per day, but certainly not all. Am I sounding cold and callous by suggesting that inclusion of inappropriate children in mainstream classes will result in the dumbing down of the curriculum for students who are not disabled? Let me read that question again. And this is why I want you to share this interview and tag the paper. Am I sounding cold and callous by suggesting that inclusion of inappropriate children in mainstream classes will result in the dumbing down of the curriculum for students who are not disabled? Disabled children certainly deserve our compassion, but is inclusion truly the best way to help them? I don't know the answers. I'm just asking questions. I just, Amos being in this class this year, has been the best thing for him. And I can't imagine that there's a parent in there that thinks that Amos being in the class has dumbed it down. He's, what did he call him? Amos isn't an inappropriate child. In the Richmond Times-Dispatch, who, when I was corrected for not saying it right by the Tom or whatever his name is, it's Times-Dispatch. Don't correct me on what I call your paper when you've hired somebody that talks like this about kids. And you don't want to do an interview with me because it's not going to help you. Well, fine. Then we'll just go over some stuff for you instead. It's not that it hurts me. It really makes me want to go and kick his front teeth in. And I talked to this guy, and it was like, he was kind of like that doctor at Duke that asked if Amos was retarded. It was like, I'm a little bit arrogant, or a lot, and I'm awfully smart, and everybody else is just politically correct. But I'm just going to be honest. I'm like that, right? I'm honest. I think I'm sort of smart. I mean, not terribly smart. This isn't about political correctness. This is about, does anyone really think that more inclusion will help special needs students? And then he says to me, I wasn't aware of the law idea, Individuals with Disability Education Act. Cameron wants to put Cameron, you live in Richmond. So I said to him, he said, I will say to you, the federal government has not subsidized IDEA the way that they promised to when it was created in 1974, I think. That's worth a conversation. I will also say to you, he said, we have this number of students and they're using a lot of this money, which he quoted he quoted all the money used, $384 million for exceptional students. He said it was just for students with autism. And that was just a lie, which I told his boss. I was like, he lied. He was like, well, what about? I was like, well, here, let's go through it together. So he was kind of complaining, well, we're using all these resources for this small group. And I said, okay, let's talk about the American with Disabilities Act. I said, I don't know if you know about that one. He said, no, I know. Okay, well, that's a law. Good. We've all gotten that one, ADA. And every building in the country, when it's built, right, business, has to be accessible to wheelchairs. Only 1% of our population is in wheelchairs. And I said, do you think that we should get rid of that law? It's very expensive for businesses. And he said, no. And I was like, okay, well, I don't understand what the difference is for kids with autism. But I think the difference is he really thinks my little boy is going to taint the other kids. This guy just doesn't have any business writing any opinion pieces. I can't say that enough. I cannot say that enough. So here's what the editor wrote. Oh, no, he's not going live with me tomorrow. He's not allowed to. So today in the paper, and then I talked to the boss man about this too. I said, you wrote this explanation, and the explanation sounded cute, but it had nothing to do with the article. So here's the explanation they put in the paper. So now they're going to do an apology tomorrow, at my suggestion, though I told them I was doubtful it's going to be sincere. Yesterday's editorial on autism generated a large and passionate response from many readers. We decided to devote all of today's op-ed page to publishing letters about the editorial. More letters may be published next week. We also offer here a condensed version of the editorial's main points. Now, this is what they're saying the main points are. Autism diagnoses are becoming more common. This creates a moral and financial challenge for our state and society. Hey, what's a moral challenge? Children with autism deserve a quality education. This can be expensive and often includes mainstreaming, which is desirable, but can pose new challenges for teachers and other students. Getting all of this right is important, so Virginia must have a frank and open debate on the issue. I have never heard that mainstreaming causes challenges for other students. Where are you from? Oh, I live in Edenton, North Carolina. Victoria, I'm so glad you're here. One of my followers had sent it to me yesterday. I mean, I know Amos isn't easy. So anyway, that's what they said the article was about, which I just don't think is totally true. Now, hold on, let me find the next page. Shit, I can't get out here. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. So he wrote an article on autism being covered by health insurance, which he clearly, guess again, is against. And I'll read to you what he said on that one. I think it's important to note that this is not an accident, how he wrote this article on Wednesday. Before anyone accuses me of being insensitive to the challenges of autism, let me quickly say that I am very sympathetic to the plight of parents raising an autistic child. Raising a normal child, if there is such a thing, is difficult enough. I can only imagine the emotional and financial roller coaster that people go through with an autistic child. My heart goes out to them. So, autism isn't cancer, right? Yeah, it can be a hard journey. But boy, it's a joyful one. And I tell you what, if it's not autism, it's cancer, it's a car accident. Real things happen in life that aren't perfect. And you can't escape real life. Here's another article he wrote. And this one is called, Who Speaks for the Parents of the Normal Kids? And today I said, Bacon, I have 3 normal kids, as you like to call them, and an Amos. It doesn't have to be an either or. I can be a special needs mom and a typical mom. Why would he write about something he knows so little about? I know, it is so weird. That's what I said, Martha. And I asked the boss that too. I said, he clearly knows nothing about this. Like, you don't see me writing about Putin because I don't know anything about it. Who speaks for the parents of the normal kids? This is July 7th, 2013. And he tells this kind of little story. Julie Landry's autistic son had trouble adapting to 2nd grade in Fairfax County schools. The rambunctious lad was prone to outburst. In one incident in April, the boy ignored instructions during PE class, ran around the gym yelling and throwing volleyballs, and when teachers tried to restrain him, punched, kicked, headbutted, and bit multiple staff members. 3 were injured and required medical attention. So here's the question. How do we balance the rights of the Landry boy to a mainstreamed education versus the rights of the other students not to have their classroom disrupted? That is not very typical. I would say that kids with behavioral problems usually don't have special needs. Probably a lot of poverty and home life issues. The other thing is, particularly in Richmond, has a very high incident of kids with special needs being suspended from school. So I don't think it's really hurting that crowd that much because I'm getting the hell out of there. A panel of school officials and special education experts, reports the Washington Post, determined, because this is what he likes to do, is just take other people's article. determined that the lad's actions were caused by his disability, a finding that saved him from facing expulsion. School authorities did reassign him to a different school, an action defended on the grounds of protecting staff members, and the family appealed the decision. After a lot of back and forth, the boy was admitted to the Phillips School, and his tuition will be paid by the Comprehensive Services Act. The Landry kid is just one of thousands of children with disabilities in Fairfax schools. 14% of the population was classified as disabled, and they accounted for 40% of long-term expenses. Last month, the school board voted to revise school discipline policies to address the disparity in mandatory suspensions and expulsions. It's not easy raising normal kids, he said. I know, I have 3. It's been rewarding, but never easy. My heart goes out to parents with children with disabilities. This is the epitome of white male neurotypical privilege. His heart really, he's feeling bad for me. And I cannot blame them for wanting the best for them. But disabled kids are not the only ones with rights. Children who don't disrupt classes have rights too. Among them, the right to attend classes where teachers don't spend a severely disproportionate amount of class time dealing with behavior problems. Julie Landry says she'd love for her kid to be in his base school, making connections with peers in the neighborhood. Yes, that would be nice. But does that nicely trump the rights of kids in the neighborhood to their own education? It sounds like the best decision was reached. The Landry boy will attend a specialized facility designed to accommodate special needs students. That leaves the other 60% of disciplinary cases caused by students who are not disabled. I'm sure every one of them has a heart-wrenching tale to tell. Most were neglected, abused, or suffered extreme hardship. What about their rights? Here's my argument. My right to swing my fist ends at your nose. Likewise, no one has a right to participate in a class where they disrupt another child's education. If a kid suffers from a disability, socioeconomic disadvantage, or just lousy parenting, that's a personal tragedy. If a kid suffers from a disability, so if you have autism, it's a personal tragedy. If you're poor, it's a personal tragedy. Lousy parenting, that seems like a tragedy. If you have Down syndrome, that's a tragedy. Are you fucking kidding me? School systems should have places where such kids can continue their education. Yes. Baconator, that would be called an institution, which is why we have a federal law now that says we don't do that anymore. It's insane. And today I said to him, he was like, I don't want that. I said, well, if you say kids can't be in the regular classroom, where will they be? It's the weirdest thing in the planet. Their right to an education should not supersede the same right of students who are able and willing to behave themselves. He's calling. Do not let him call. Sorry. I'm really going to get angry. There's people playing video games on my phone. We have to do something. You know what I think the good thing to do is to call the newsroom. They answer the phone. They do. Of course, now I can't find it. Let me look for the number. I would call the newsroom. Yes, I would. I think calling and talking. And I would call Bacon. I sent him an email and he responded pretty quickly. Let's see. Richmond. I think, I'm doubtful they're going to put the article on Facebook. Oh, so here's now they've got a new one out now. We want to be part of the autism solution. Baloney. Let's read it, though, just because we're here. On Wednesday, we published the editorial Trade-Offs, which discuss the complex issues involving in educating students with autism. We focus solely on cost and class conditions. Yes, I'll post the links, Krista. We have, much to our regret, the editorial offended many people. We've heard from parents, advocates, friends, and even students. There's no other way to say this except we missed the mark. We also missed far too many of the nuances and deep emotions that accompany the daily life of those for whom autism is more than a public policy issue. But your overwhelming response has driven home to us how important this topic is for so many people, not just in our community, but across the nation. If there was an overriding theme in your letters, emails, and phone calls, it was frustration. Parents, grandparents, siblings, teachers, advocates all voiced dismay at the lack of understanding and attention paid to students with autism and those who love them. We thank those who engaged with us. We concur that this is a long conversation, long overdue, and not one focused primarily on the monetary aspects, but on the breadth of the issue. We will continue to welcome your letters and your phone calls. We have invited advocacy groups, support groups, and people with autism to meet with us to dig deeper so that we can share the increased understanding with our readers. The Times-Dispatch will soon give our readers and the community a chance to enrich that exchange. Our next public square, as soon as January, will be dedicated to helping the community better understand autism. It will be an event that commands the attention of state and local policymakers. We apologize for any pain we have caused, and we look forward to expanding on this important conversation. What do y'all think? Do you think that sounds heartfelt? I think it might need to say, and Bacon has no place here. He's only allowed to write obituaries and classified ads. So if you want to call the Times-Dispatch, y'all got your pens out? Let me get to the bottom of the darn website. Okay, let's see here. Contact us. Okay, I look. Hell, I can't. It's hard to find them. Okay, the newsroom. Well, don't call the newsroom. They're not very helpful. The editorial room. Well, you could call the newsroom. The newsroom is 804-649-6990. The editorial opinion room, which is where Bacon is 804-649-6305. Now, let's find the main number. La, 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 la. Business directory. About us. Let's see. I think it's got their names on here. Did I say 804? I meant to. So if you call the opinion room, you'll either talk to Bacon, Robin Bears. She's the one yesterday. Remember when I said I wanted to talk to Bacon about the article? And she said, well, how did you know he wrote it? And I said, you just told me. And Cindy Paris. I hadn't talked to old Cindy Paris. Bob Rayner is who I talked to a bunch of times today. Bob Rayner said, Jim is a gifted writer, a relentless researcher, and an original thinker. I don't know if original is the right word or not. It's like he just has been living. What's that movie where the guy lives down under the ground because they think a bomb is coming? They will not confirm nor deny. Oh, they confirmed it with me, Brian. Yes. No, not one person. It was confirmed. I mean, he didn't say I confirm it, but they apologized for his behavior and said he couldn't meet with me because of, no, it's confirmed. It is Bacon. There's no, nothing about that. Yes, it's confirmed. His experience as a blogger and his online savvy. I mean, do you realize what this means? This means that I should be working for like the New York Times. If this person has experience as a blogger and he's online savvy? I mean, I might not be good at much, but I know I'm better than him. Now, let's see if we see the rest. Not that it's about me, because it's not. But no, they're not denying it all, but it was him. No. Okay, now, let's see. See what else he wrote. Is there anything else? I don't want to... Or is that all the pages? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, I forgot about this one. This is one. Oh, I wanted to read this to y'all. This was, how did the FaceTime video get kiboshed? Well, when I talked to that Rayner fella, he said that they had a big meeting and that they don't, it went to the higher up and the executives, and they tried for a long time. They talked for a long time and decided it would not be in his best interest to talk to me. He's only been working for the paper for a week, and I think they're worried what he's going to say to represent the paper. I said, well, that's fine. Now we'll all wonder why in the hell he's not talking. So in the paper today, they had all these opinion pieces, that they gave. And this was a really good one. I'm 16 years old. I'm blind and have autism. I'm high functioning. I'm in 10th grade and I'm in junior ROTC. I read your editorial, Bring More Light to Decisions About Autism in the Classroom, posted online, and I got really mad. Please let people with autism be mainstreamed in classes and let them get the education they need. Kim Drudge from Goochland. Kim, we're going to make sure you can do that. This is an article. This is interesting. 2 more articles I just found. The service dog thing is out of control. Service dogs have long been a staple of society as companions for the blind. Dogs can give them mobility and autonomy. Because the blind are few in number, everyone is willing to make minor accommodations for them and their dogs. But the concept of a service dog is morphing. Service Dogs by Warren Retrievers is a perfect example. It helps people with invisible disabilities such as autism, diabetes, PTSD, and seizures. That stretches the definition to encompass, I'd guess, 10% of the population. Warren Buffett owns the paper. But the concept is even more elastic. Now people have emotional support dogs. Kevin wrote this too. Oh, yeah, Bacon wrote this too. Okay, I'm actually with him on this emotional support dog, but I don't think... So but what he's saying is service dogs are fine for blind people, but not for people with invisible disabilities. Because the disabled enjoy legal protections, and because anyone who utters inappropriate sentiments might find him or herself tarred as an ableist and a bigot, people are scared to resist the trend. Americans always push the boundaries as far as they can, and there are no discernible criteria in our culture of victimization that people can draw upon to say that's enough. Anyone who utters inappropriate sentiments might find himself tarred as an ableist. And then here's the last article. This was just in June. Raising the next generation of snowflakes. Under federal law, now he just told me today he'd never heard of this law. Schools must offer reasonable accommodations to the disabled. Yes, a big difference between service and emotional support. I think everybody would agree with that. But he's talking about the difference in service dogs for people with seizures versus with people for blind them who needs them. Yes, Sarah. Yeah, Bacon wrote this. It's all bacon. Under federal law, schools must offer reasonable accommodations to the disabled. A blind student, for instance, would be given access to specialized software or a reader for an exam. No one could argue with that. But what about people with less visible disabilities, such as depression, anxiety, or ADHD. It goes on to say you have, if you have ADHD or dyslexia, you shouldn't get any accommodations. You're pretending to be disabled. This person has a very interesting background. I would love to know what it is. These glasses seem like I could look like Mrs. Claus. Anyway, I ain't got nothing else to say. Well, let's just go over one more time. Let's just go over that first one I read just before I leave, just to make me feel better. Because I want to leave y'all with this. Because I think this is important. So when you call the newsroom, can you reread the part about the difference in disabilities? Oh, shit. No, I don't know where it is, Jessica. I thought he had been saying it was stretched too far. Oh, he said it was service dogs were for blind people were fine because there weren't that many blind people, so it was okay. But then when you get into invisible disabilities, it becomes a problem. And then emotional support animals are really a problem, which, I mean, I agree, that's not the same thing. But a service dog for somebody with seizures is not the same as an emotional. Anyway, let's just go over, where in the hell did it go? I wanted to comment how much I loved your glasses, but I thought it was inappropriate. Blair hates them, my daughter. Okay. Doo-dee-doo. Oh, no, it's not there. Y'all have hidden it. Okay. Okay. The idea of applying the practice of inclusion, I know I read this, I'm just going to read it again, to all classrooms in order to eradicate inclusion's general association. Blah, blah, woof, woof, eyes glaze over. Blah, blah, woof, woof, eyes glaze over. That's going to be like my new slogan. Is it just me, or does this sound like a touchy-feely fest? Does anyone really think that more inclusion will help special needs children? Did he really ask that? Like, this is what we were going to go over tomorrow. Am I overlooking something when I observe that special needs students have special needs? That they need specialized exercises and programs? Exercises? What the hell? Tailored to their level of cognitive development? In some instances, I would guess children could be mainstreamed with their peers and given special instruction for an hour or two per day, but not all. Am I sounding cold and callous by suggesting that the inclusion of inappropriate children in mainstream classes will result in the dumbing down of the curriculum for students who are not disabled? Disabled children certainly deserve our compassion, but is inclusion the best way to help them? I don't know the answers. I'm just asking questions. Yes, it is. If you're really wanting to know, you told me nobody wanted to have a conversation with you, so I'm telling you, it is the best way to help children like Amos, who's not inappropriate. He's not. He's not a burden. He's not, would you call it, a personal tragedy? Kids with disabilities, it's a personal tragedy. Anyway. If I lived in Richmond, I would need somebody to take my car keys. But anyway, that's all I got. Remember Hania. You know, tonight I put a thing on my blog about a little fella with autism. Well, I don't know if he had autism. I'm sort of guessing, surmising that he has autism, but he might not. And his family was at the Vatican for the Wednesday service, and he went up to the pulpit, and I said, it's like my son, because last year at church, during the Christmas pageant, Amos was a sheep, and my friend Cynthia said, well, he'll be a good sheep. You know, sheep wander. And during the pageant, Amos went and did a circle around the altar. And then he started like going fast. And I mean, I was like, I'm going to have a heart attack, because if I go up there, I'm going to cause a big scene, but he might start a fire. And so I could just like feel, and I mean, this was at the Vatican. I was just at St. Paul's in Eaton. That was at the Vatican. No, mute. The little boy is not mute. I don't know why the news was saying that. The mother said he doesn't talk, but that means that's not being mute, and that he has behavioral issues. So I'm thinking it's autism. And she goes up there to get him, and the Pope said, no, he's okay. Like here, you know, he's so free, and that's how we're supposed to be. I think he's here to teach us something. You know what? What a lesson in inclusion and how loved that family felt. I thought not talking was being mute. A lot of times being mute is associated with being deaf, though it's not. You'll hear the old term deaf and mute. But I think in Europe, what we call nonverbal, they call mute, but he is not deaf. So I personally haven't heard the term mute. That's just not a term used in the United States. He's nonverbal. So anyway. But it was really a nice story. Really, really nice. And then I hadn't shared the one about the mom who sent me her video of her son with Down syndrome on the football team. And the coach said, he's welcome to be on the team with us. Like, that's what education is. If we think education is all about, I had an education, right? Went to private school, never went to school with anybody different than me. And my children are so much further ahead having Amos in their life than I was. So anyway, I would much rather talk about the kind and nice things, but I don't think we can totally ignore the Bacons of the world. And it's not that these people are hateful, and what's unfortunate is a lot of times that last one did sound sort of hateful. They're just idiots. But I like nice way better. I really do. And I don't know if he'll change his thoughts any. But I tell you what, he's probably going to have a real hard time going out socially. Not that Richmond's a small town, but I mean, I would not want to be going out to dinner and having people recognize me if I said all that shit. Anyway, carry on. I'll miss our live video chat with the Baconator. It's like Fortnite over here. But anyway, share, tell, love, become a supporter. We do a supporter video. We did one earlier today, didn't we, supporters? Ellen, did we do a supporter video? Oh, yeah, and I did one at the playground this afternoon. We'll probably do one of those in the morning. Saturday supporters. It's very fun. We talk about funny stuff. Ooh, there's some real good funny stuff that I'm not even going to say right now, because it's generally a little bit questionable. Did you hear about the airline pilot that the mother got mad because the child's name is spelled ABCDE? And it's pronounced Ab City. It's this cute, blonde mom and her blonde daughter. And the flight agent was like hysterical over the name, which is sort of funny. But then the flight agent took a picture of the boarding pass and put it on social media. Well, that was a bad idea. But the comments are hysterical, the people said. I'm not very clever. Yeah, absidy. We're going to talk, that's the kind of stuff we talk about on supporter videos. Absolutely, like, we talk about serious stuff too. Mindless crap too. And we laugh a lot. And then my husband interjects. And my children like to be on it. Blair's going to be pissed she missed this video. Oh, and I know what we're doing in the morning on the supporter video. We're opening some presents. Because look, we have this one from Amos Mosquito, because I wore my hat the other night and they've sent me a present. And then we have this one from Jane Hahn, who is a supporter. She sent me this package. Yep. So that's what we're doing. See y'all in the morning. Probably around, I gotta take Blair to the darn birthday party. It might be at 8:30 or like 10. Okay. If anybody sees bacon, maybe we'll have some bacon for breakfast, just in honor of this person. Y'all make phone calls and write. Okay? Goodbye.